I'm KT.
And I'm the Trout, and welcome to episode 16. We're on our way to 35. That's the magic number, people, 35. That's what all the famous people say on YouTube. Hit 35 and millions of people will love you. We have
Oh,
millions of
Lordy.
people who love us, but we just don't know it. So we have to tell you a couple of things real quick, and that is, first of all, push the button that's going to appear now that says subscribe. Bing! And tell your friends about it. And if you like us, and we like each other, that you should like us and subscribe
Like us.
to us, because
That'd be fun.
that's what keeps us going.
Yeah. Well, it really doesn't. We
No,
just got
we
nothing else to do
we
and
got
sitting at home and like, hey, you want to do a podcast today? Yeah, sure. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
But
Any
the
new
cool thing
subscribers?
about it
No?
is we do have news to talk about today. And today's show, we have new sponsors coming in. We have new products coming in for 2022. And yeah, don't show that Coke can because they don't pay us anything.
Oak. That's not what that
Oak,
is.
it's an oak. It's an oak. And we're going to be talking about some really cool things. We got new people coming up, and we're working on a really cool guest, and we're hoping that it comes to fruition next. Oh, it's cool. It's cool. So
One of a kind. One of a kind.
One of a kind. One of a kind, and they are not in the United States. I like going outside the United States. They just
Yeah,
seem to be
I
more
noticed
friendly.
that.
I noticed that.
Well,
They don't know how
we like their accents.
Hi. So, oh, no, that's a British accent.
What was that?
Wait a
Hi.
minute. I'm supposed to be talking like I'm from Texas. You know what I'm talking about. Little Billy Gibbons. This is Billy Gibbons. Okay. All right. So,
Listening to the wolf.
Wolf. So we're starting our show. This is the beginning. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. First time, welcome. If you're listening on podcast, everything we show you on YouTube, you won't be able to see.
No.
But you can go to our YouTube and watch it. So today we're going to be talking about a near and dear subject. Oh, sorry about that, people. I saw this article, near and dear. I'm going to hold this up real quick. You can't see it. It's white.
Yeah.
It's that blue screen.
Got to put it in front of the black shirt, remember?
It's all, right here. Oh, there we go.
There she is.
Is old music killing new music? That's the title of, similar to this title of this YouTube podcast. So this caught my eye recently, not only because I saw the article in a news article, but also Rick Beato, and those people know Rick Beato, who has 2.7 million followers, was talking about it. And the gist of it is, and it's actually some interesting, and KT and I are going to talk about it. This is a guy that wrote the story, and he says all the growth in the music business now comes from old songs. That's interesting. How did we get here, and is there a way back? I don't really care if there is a way back.
So I wonder what they mean by growth.
Oh, what a great question. I have the answer right here.
Wow.
So if you look at U.S. catalog, this is off of, I don't know which, it's a company that provides details for the recording industry. This is the last 18 months, and this article was written in the middle of January, so it's not that long ago. And if you're listening next year, it's old. Catalog share, it's up 19.3% volume change over 2020. That's 20. Everything we're going to be talking about is 2021. Total album consumption is up about 20%. Current share, current as in January 17th, 18th, it is down 3.7%. And I'm just.
And are we talking album sales, or is this
music
throughout
people? People music
downloads and all that stuff?
Yep. So I'm gonna. I don't know how to pronounce Ted's last name. I guess it's Gioia. I'm not really. Ted's, forgive me. It's Gioia. So I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Italian, I assume. I'm just gonna read this real quick. The new music market is actually shrinking. All the growth in the market is coming from old songs. Just consider these facts. The 200 most popular tracks now this January 2022, the 200 most popular tracks account for less than 5% of the total streams. Think about that.
So top 40. You mean top 40 stuff, like what's on the radio now?
Whatever's on the radio, the 200. So people like Taylor Swift and whoever the newest hip hop artists are, and I said, okay. So he says this guy was in a retail store and he was checking out. And the kid behind and they called him a youngster, probably a teenager, behind the cash register was singing along with Sting and Message in a Bottle, which came out in the 80s.
Right.
That's interesting. So I'm not supposed to tell you that. Let's see. Let me go to here real quick. I had another thing that was interesting.
Well, with all the streaming services and stuff going on right now, you have access to a lot of stuff. And sometimes when people just listen to certain playlists, things pop up that they wouldn't normally listen to, right?
Yeah, that changed a lot too. I mean, who has playlists? I mean, everybody has playlists. But here's another interesting thing that talks about the music industry, and this can concern the recording industry professionals and the reason why they're buying up old catalogs. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The Grammy show, people are not watching anymore. So in 2012, which was 10 years ago, 40 million people watched the Grammys. In 2021, 8.8 million.
Wow.
So that's a huge decline. And that usually signifies to me that the music is not very good. People don't care about it because they, I remember I always wanted to get a Grammy, but I mean, now it's like, I see all these categories. I don't even know what they are anymore.
Yeah.
So that's a huge drop. I mean, 40 million to 8 million, and almost 9 million. So the people aren't listening.
And the Academy Award goes to Best Shoe Used in a Video.
Okay, now we're going to talk, and KT and I are going to talk about more of this and why we think it is. But here's another interesting statistics. The hottest area of investment in music business is old songs.
Well, yeah.
The songs and the most, okay, which obviously, if you're an investment guy and you're working with a big company, which they are mega million companies, and they're losing their market share, a lot of these are publicly owned. So they got to figure out how they're going to get the market share up. And we're going to talk about why we think it's not doing very well. But all the major labels are buying up people's catalogs. So here's a partial list. Now, some of these I didn't even know. Here's a partial list. Hold it up to my chest again, right here. Of all the music that the big record companies have bought up their catalogs. Just to name a few. Bob Dylan. First I'm going to name the people who are still alive. Bruce Springsteen, David Crosby, Stevie Nicks, David Bowie, ZZ Top, Lindsey Buckingham, Mick Fleetwood, Taylor Swift. I mean, that's just a few of them. And then some of them, they're not with us anymore. Whitney Houston. Who else is in here? Ray Charles. Even people like Paul Simon. They all sold it. And I think that, and I want to talk about music in general, and then I got another article too about it. I'm not one of these people, and I don't know how you are, KT, but I remember my parents hating my music back in the 60s. I hated it. They hated it. Well, that's too strong. They disliked it. And my mom and dad watched Lawrence Welk. I couldn't stand it. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is what we're going to listen to when I'm 50 or 60 years old. But I'm absolutely a strong believer in if the music is good, it will carry on forever. And I can say this by saying, why do people still listen to Beethoven and Mozart? Those are like 250, 300 years old.
It's an emotion.
And even the music and I like this music, the swing era with, all the stuff during World War II. Stuff. The big bands, people still listen to it.
Yeah.
So why do people go and listen to the classic rock, what we call classic rock? This is my strong feeling about it. The music industry has put themselves in this situation. They really have. So if you look at it right now, when I grew up, if you want to go to the recording studio, if you got to go to the recording studio, it was a huge deal, right?
You made it.
You made it. Somebody wants you to go in, you made it. Now everybody sits at home and records their own stuff.
Right.
And they throw up on TikTok and they get 30 seconds and people go, oh, I want to listen to that, or they'll throw it on YouTube. And what these according to what I've read and seen, these industry experts, quotes around that, they watch TikTok. So if a new song is hot, they call them up, hey, come in and record. They don't even, so
Well, even if it's not, it's more based off of how many views and how many followers you have.
Yeah, it's the same
Prime
thing, right?
example in one of those shows that Johnny Wang kid who did that She Banged, She
Oh
Moved,
yeah,
and it was absolutely horrible. But it was the fact that he had millions of followers who thought
yeah,
it was funny,
yep,
right? It's kind of a
right.
slap in the face to those. I wouldn't say musicians who were serious about what they did, because the dude was serious about what he did. He was up in there. He's like, I'm good.
Yeah,
This is, but yeah, I
she
think it's
bangs.
more, you
She
know,
bangs.
when Napster came out back in the day, man, and it took all that. I mean, the labels,
Yeah, they
now
went.
the album sales went out the window, and that's how they were making their money, right? So to me, it's all about how to squeeze as much juice out of the lemon as you can.
That's right. And the interesting about it too, and I saw this somewhere, that vinyl sales are up now. People
Yeah,
are buying vinyl,
yeah.
and
I think
I
it's more about nostalgia music than it is, you know,
well,
you
it
don't
is to a
see the
certain degree for baby
MTVs.
boomers, but why do people like 20-year-olds want to? Why would a 20-year-old go to a Sting concert? I mean,
It's his mom and
why would
pops,
even,
man.
why would, yeah, I guess so.
It's.
And I think it's because,
And it's good music. It's it's
yeah,
it's not, just like you made a point, yeah, everybody can go sit in their
doesn't
in
mean
their
it's good.
rooms and generate digital music.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of artists out there that do the guitar, the bass, and all that stuff. But when you listen to those older albums, man, it's, I think it's you can feel the music a lot more. I feel, in my opinion, than I do when I listen to a lot of this digitally created music. There's not much. It's too on time. It's too perfect. I like to hear
Oh, that's a
the
good point.
nuances of,
Well, but if you
so
think about what came out in December, the Beatles movie, where they
yeah,
talked
yeah,
about Let It Be, and everybody wanted to go down. I mean, people I know that even didn't even know they weren't even around when the Beatles were around. They go out and
right.
watched it, and I saw an article, not article, I
It's
saw
history.
it's, and people were like, "Oh, why? How did they do this?" This is an interesting situation. What happened to the Beatles? Because I saw an interview of George Martin, who since passed away. He was their producer, and for those people that don't know what a producer does, that's kind of the leader. Well, a lot of people
Yeah,
say they're a producer because they produce music, but a real producer goes in the studio with a band or an artist and goes, "Let's do that again. I think you could do better."
yeah,
Or they're
yeah,
the ones that go, "Hey, I think we need to put some reverb on that or delay on that or boost it." So they're the, because you get a couple of musicians in a band going in the studio, they're all going to go, "No, I'm going to do that," and they get crazy. So that's what
yep.
a real producer is. George Martin was the one that produced the majority of the Beatles catalog. And so they were talking about Let It Be and Abbey Road. And when they did, of course, Let It Be was actually before Abbey Road. A lot of people don't know that. They actually released Let It Be after Abbey Road, but Let It Be was actually done. And so what Lennon did was he came to Martin and said, "I just want to do a live recording of us recording. That's all I want to do. I don't want to do a bunch of editing. I don't want to do a bunch of dubs. I just want to be able to put it out there." And if you listen to Let It Be, it was that way. But the problem was that this group, which is what the famous, and I can't think of the guy that put the movie out, that put the Beatles movie out now. I can't think of a real famous director, but
Scorsese.
no, no, no. He did all the, well, it doesn't matter. But anyway, they had the
Oh,
cameras with
producer.
them everywhere. They did all the cameras. They had cameras. They're filming every day, so they're doing it. So when they got done with it, and they would have to they'd have to do, it's like when they did, we were talking about the big band sound. All the music you hear on the big band from the 40s was one take. It was one
Mm.
take. They recorded it on a special machine. It was one take. So Martin said they started up and he said, "Okay, we're going to do this, but when you have a mess up, we're going to start over again." So he said they do songs 20, 25 times, which of course loses a little bit of spontaneity
Right.
because you're
Yeah.
done it after, like, "Oh my God, I don't have to do it again." So when they were done with Let It Be, they decided, and it was really interesting. This was done in '93, so it's been a while since he did this interview. But he says after it's done, none of them really liked the album. The EMI didn't like it. Nobody really cared much for it. And he said after it was done, he said you could tell the Beatles were on their way out. That you could tell by that deal that they were about done. So what does he do? He gets a call from Paul McCartney, and Paul says, we want to do one last album, or they want to do an album, which is Abbey Road. And Martin says, I'm not doing it unless I do what I can do to it, which is what a producer does. And that's why Abbey Road was a better seller and a much better, and that's why you have the songs going together. And I like Abbey Road much better than Let It Be. But that's the difference between now. Now you go in the studio, everything's digital now. I don't think anybody, I wonder if anybody even records on analog anymore.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
I'm sure they're using 2-inch tape and all that stuff.
Well, maybe. I mean, but there's definitely plugins now that emulate that. So
yeah, so everything is digital.
Everybody wants it to be done easy. It's easy.
Boy, isn't that the truth? Yeah. So, and what KT was talking about, if you go back to music from the 60s and 70s, there was no click track. They just started playing.
There's no auto tune.
There was no auto tune. None of that was available. In fact, you had to use an oscilloscope, which I did back even in the 90s, to tune your guitar, because there weren't these little digital tuners you could put on your guitars for $20. None of that existed.
Right.
So when you went in, you were excited about going in. And I remember the first time I went, it was overwhelming to me, because you sit there and you're like all hyped up. And my producer said, you need to calm down. Because I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you realize when they stick a very expensive several $1,000 microphone in front of you, you realize I got to get good real quick, because I can hear everything inside my internal organs working. But now,
and you're going to do every take multiple times.
Multiple times. So now what happens is, this is from people that are in the business, people like we were talking about ZZ Top, Paul Simon, the Beatles, Pink Floyd. Those guys all wrote their songs. Now when they want to have a hit, they have like 20 people come in and write a song. It's like doing a sitcom.
Go to Fiverr and have somebody do it for you. Hey, I want you to write the song, and can you sing and do all the music and everything, and just do that for me, and then I will just I'll just put my name on it afterwards. I appreciate that. Here's $5.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
well,
it's a different game.
And the sad thing about it is, I'm sure they're out there somewhere. Do people actually go from record labels listening to bands anymore? South by Southwest kind of lost a lot because of when we went to COVID. But do people still go? I remember back in the day, that many years ago, that people would go to South by Southwest to see the new bands.
Right.
And then the A&R people, and those are the guys that go out, or women that go out and say, oh, this band needs to come in. We need to hire them. And so I don't even know if that exists anymore. So to me, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say the music.
Your A&R person now sits and watches TikToks and YouTube videos nowadays.
Yep. And most of the songs that are out today will probably not be remembered 2 or 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. First off, they don't have any melody or catch. They don't have anything where you're going to sit around and sing the melody. I think that's one of the reasons people like the Beatles, or even the old 70s stuff. It has a melody and it has words that make sense, and it has a hook. So people go, oh, well, all these great hooks. Now, a lot of the music is just regurgitated. And I don't want to sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but it's kind of like, come on, where's the good music? And I was watching something with Maroon 5 recently about their song Yellow, the song that was real famous. That song's like 25 years old. And I'm like, it is?
You mean Yellow by Coldplay?
Oh, Coldplay, not Maroon 5.
Yellow.
Yeah, Coldplay, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that old. I guess.
Well, that's why they picked it. So you wouldn't remember that from back then.
Well, and I don't think people 20 years from now are going to be sitting around and singing hip hop tunes. Right? I mean,
the old stuff,
they'll be doing.
It first kind of came out where it wasn't so, all auto tuned up, and I know that was a very bad analogy of it, but everything's just sit in there and talk and let the machine do it. It's all going towards AI. Like all the artificial intelligence stuff that
machines are taking over.
They are, man.
Well, I will tell you, I admit that I like the ability to record at home. Okay. I
Yeah.
do like that. But I've spent years making music, so it's not like me showing up and going. A couple of years ago, maybe, yeah, I guess a friend of mine called me up and said, I want you to go listen to this young lady saying she has an album out, and and you could help produce her. And she was a country singer. So I go listen to her. Before I went and listened to her, I listened to her album. It was her playing a guitar, recording it
Yeah.
on a microphone. And then she threw it up on whatever, Spotify or whatever. It was not good. She was a good
Yeah.
performer, but it wasn't good. So when people say I got an album out, they go, well, okay, big deal. I mean, if you'd said that 25 years ago, I got an album out, people would go, oh my God, really? Where do I
Right.
get it?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like people, I think, in my generation they don't want to have a Spotify list. I mean, I used to make my own DVDs, CDs of music. I
Right.
mean, when
What's
you were
that?
talking, yeah, I don't know. What is a CD? But you were talking about playlists and you were talking about people making playlists. So when Napster came out, people were downloading music like crazy.
Yeah.
And
LimeWire, Napster. Yeah.
and people were getting sued by crazy for it. So it's like,
Well, they tried
and
to. Yeah.
well, because they were sharing, and I never. My wife
Hmm.
goes, "Why are you listening to this stuff? You're a musician. You want to pay these people?" And I would always download the really old stuff, and then I wouldn't
Right.
share it because it's like I just want to put it on a CD and listen to it. But that
Yeah.
was when you could hear Jeff Beck and ZZ Top doing 16 tons that somebody recorded somewhere that I didn't know where it was. You could download and
Right.
go, "Where's this
Yep.
at? I can't buy this song."
Right.
That's
No,
that, and
there were some good parts about it. Of course, way worse than there were good, because I mean, you kind of take it from the artist's perspective as well. I was always a firm believer. Look, if you want my music, I'll give it to you,
yeah,
and
I
then in
agree.
return, support me. Come see me live. Maybe
Yep.
get some of my merch. Right? Because nowadays, I go record an album. I could spend years and years on it, put it out there, and then one person gets it and puts it online, and boom, everybody has access
Yeah.
to it. So trying
And
to
you're
make
right. I'd rather
money
give it
from
away.
that,
I'd rather give it
you
away.
know, but yeah, no, it's changed. Sure.
Well, this is a famous producer wrote an article called, I put it away, but anyway, he talks about it's a little too easy to make music nowadays, which he says,
Mm,
this is quote, but the hits are what we most often exposed to, and they're not lighting up the earbuds or even the demographic they're aimed at. Never used the word ad at the end of the
sure.
presentation. Okay. Um, I think a big reason for that is the fact that songwriting has gotten lazy. Not on purpose, mind you, just because the technology makes it that way. Exactly what you were talking about,
Well, at the
KT.
same time, too, if you look at it, it gives everybody who thinks that they're a musician or thinks they have what it takes the ability to
True.
do it, right? So now
Yeah.
you have way more people out there releasing stuff because they can. Where back in the day, you had to find a producer who was willing to do your work because they thought it was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was a little bit more of a nostalgia or something that was exciting when you're like, oh man, like I remember when we went recorded with Ryan Green. There was an excitement there because this guy is well known, and it's just like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, we're about to go do this. And but now, yeah, like you said, people just can they're their own producers and can release it on multiple platforms without even a checklist of going, okay, first off, is this good?
Yeah. No,
Right?
they don't care.
I
They
mean,
don't care. They don't care.
it gets out there.
And I
Because I
really,
mean, then you got to think of who am I to say that it's good or not? If you put it out there, it could be the worst thing in the world, but Chi Bang made millions, right? You know what I'm saying? It made millions, man. It made that
well,
dude famous.
but the other thing I think, in my opinion, is because it's so easy, I think it deludes people like you and me that really want to put good music out because people then don't get
Right.
excited about it.
Well, you feel like they don't really take it serious.
They don't. Yeah, I think that's it. And when I brought the album out last year, people listening when I brought it the second time out, they go, "You listened to it? Not really." I'm going. I'm trying to get better every time,
Yeah.
and I think it dilutes it because people don't. They don't. When you tell them that, I don't think it rings with them. And I think you're right, because it used to be if you had a producer, so if you had a George Martin that produced your song, or a Jeff
Yep.
Emmerich, who was a well-known engineer at Abbey Road, or who are these people, they didn't
Yeah.
waste their time on people that
Yeah.
weren't talented. They
And I mean,
didn't.
you tell someone, hey, check out my song. I just recorded this. Them being serious about it compared to, hey, check this out. I just wrote this song with so and so producer. It was
Yeah.
released by so and
Yeah.
so record label.
Yep.
Then they're going to listen to it. But now it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, anybody can do that on their iPhone now. Really, I mean, big
Well, and
deal.
that's the other problem, in my opinion, is people listen to it on their freaking iPhone.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah,
so here's what I went through. And of course, I'm older than you, but I went through this. So the first radio we got was a 1/8 by oval record, speaker in your car.
yeah,
So when I got an 8-track, I'm dating myself now, but I had an 8-track. I bought little wedge speakers to put in back of my Maverick so I could listen to it. And I thought that sounded cool.
yep,
And then, then we bought the stereo system so we could turn it up. And then we bought the headphones so we could listen to it so it sounded sonically great.
mm,
And now you make a song and people listen to it, and it comes through a little tiny speaker in their iPhone or their Android. And
yeah,
and
yep,
you're trying to, and they're like, well, that doesn't sound that great. Well, of course not. And
yeah,
it used to be you wanted to sound on FM or AM radio, or even on AM radio, because they used to compress music, I understand, to make it sound good on AM.
mm.
Who listens to music on AM now, unless it's
I didn't
bumper
even know.
music?
I didn't even know there was music on AM
No.
except for church gospel stuff, or maybe just your weather and your traffic.
Well, the other thing this guy talks about, the reason why there's an attraction to old music, he says, quote, again, old music isn't necessarily better, but there are a few things that hits of yesteryear have many new hits don't have today. Adventurous chord patterns, for one, and he talks about songs that have, not your 3 chords. Energy for another.
Mistakes.
Mistakes. Energy for another. This is what you were talking about. A loop or a beat captures one moment of energy that repeats over and over again.
Right.
It's just a computer going cha-chang, cha-chang,
It's
cha-chang,
yeah.
cha-chang, cha-chang. And he says, I hate to refer to a song better visited by a Wayback Machine, but a great example is Refugee by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. He said, because he's talking about the music, and All Night Long by Lionel Richie, those were all recorded for vinyl. Modern music, this is probably the best part. Modern music production has squeezed as much of that primal energy out of music by adding or subtracting mix elements over static rhythm sections to add and subtract energy rather than changing the intensity of playing.
Yep.
But to be fair, that started way before we were going through this today. So KT is right.
Dynamics.
So part of it is the energy you have. And as a performer, KT and I both are performers. When you go in a studio, it is fun, but playing live is much better if you have a good crowd and it works, because
And
that's
you
where the
can sing on key.
and and you don't use an auto tune,
Yeah,
which
if you use a
none of them
lot of auto tune in the studio, then do
and
not
none of
play
them work that
live.
good. I don't care what they still don't work that great. They still don't work
Yeah.
that good. You can tell. But the energy comes. So when you go in a studio and your guys are in there or the gals are in there and the engineer's in there, you're pumped and you're trying to make something that people are going to remember. Because one of the things I like about my music is when I'm gone from this planet, people can still listen to it. I don't know what format it's going to be. I don't know if
Yeah.
it'll be chips stuck in your head or Vulcan mind melt. Oh, do you want to hear a
Yeah.
song by
Yeah.
Rick?
Yeah.
So I
Yes.
don't know. But that's part of it. And when I do a song, I don't use I use electronics, but that's only for the drum beat. After that, I know people that put their, what do they call it, quantizing or whatever. They do this,
Yeah.
and it's just the same beat through the whole song. Ooh, what is that?
Mm.
Oh, sorry, somebody's
That's
calling.
called good vibrations.
Yeah, that's the guy I called. Anyway, so let's talk about so I don't know where the music industry is going. It's going in the wrong direction, in my opinion, right now. And we've gone through, since I've been around, the iteration of the type of music, I mean, not type of music, the vehicle the music is produced on has changed dramatically, which I'm glad, because now we listen to, I just wish we had, I can only imagine what the Beatles sound like when they recorded on a 4-track if they record it now, even if they did it
Yeah.
on analog with I think Let It Be was recorded. I don't know if it was on 16. I think it was only on 8.
Well, there's some artists. I don't know what artist from back in the day has released an album recently. I'd be curious to listen. If you listen to that album, the new one, compared to the album back in the day, I bet you wouldn't get that same feeling.
Well, I remember a few years ago, Joe Walsh brought an album out called Analog Man.
He
And
probably still did it in analog though.
and he did. He recorded analog. But here's an interesting. So I just saw an interview with Tears for Fears. They're getting ready to release a new album. And for those that don't know, it's just two guys. Tears for Fears. And it was interesting because wanted to hear. I like their music. I think it's different. It's kind of cool. So these I can't remember both the guys' names, but anyway, they were interviewed. And they said when they got rid, and it's been 17 years or 15 years since their last album came out. They haven't put anything out. So they decided to want to put an album in. They got their producers together and they went in the studio and they brought in, I think the label or somebody brought in all these people that were hip with new music.
Okay.
And they said, they said, and they go, okay, write a song. And then they write it and go, no, I need to change it to make it sound more like today's music. And I think they spent a year on it. And after a year, they said, this all sucks. We're not doing any of this. And they told them, I guess they told them to take a hike. We're just going to put our own stuff out because they were trying to, it's like me. I write a song for what I write a song for. I can't write a song for something that's now because I'm not from now.
Right.
That tells you that how much things have changed. They brought in people to tell them how to write music. That's just insane to me. I mean, I can't do that. I mean, you can't do that when you write a song. You write what you feel. And I don't care if people come in and go, well, Rick, you need to change this to make it more hip. I don't really care. And that's what they did. They said, no, not going to do it. So the other thing is, for those that don't know about the music industry, all the streaming services, and as a musician that has music out on Spotify and all this stuff, it sucks. Not the payment sucks. So for those people that know, if you do 1 million streams, 1 million, that means 1 million times a song is listened to on Spotify, I get $5,000. Now think about that. If I sold 5 million records or 1 million records 30 years ago, I'd be a millionaire. I mean, I would get $1 million. And they're still talking about cutting it back further. So recently, when this show is out now, there's a lot of talk about Spotify and Neil Young coming out saying, I'm going to take my music off because I don't like somebody on Spotify. I don't like what he says. I want to take it down. And then it was followed by Joni Mitchell. And then it's followed by some other people. Folks, let me tell you something. They're not losing anything.
Not at all.
Not losing anything.
They make money off people with the subscription, not downloading or listening to the song.
And Tidal, which is what I'm going to push out on my next album, is free now. So I'm going to just tell people, go download Tidal. You don't need it, because when I brought my album out last year, people are like, I don't want to spend money for that stuff. Where do I listen to it? Well, I can go to YouTube. Well, who's going to have headphones on listening to YouTube? It just doesn't work that way. You go to SoundCloud. Nobody uses SoundCloud. Tidal is now free. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm going to put it out on Tidal.
I think a good thing to do is, like, you give your music away and then you create like a Patreon site or something like that and say, look, I'm a musician. I do this. I'm passionate. I love it. You can have the music for free. I'll give it to you. Yep. The only thing I ask is, if you want to support me on my Patreon page.
Exactly what we're going to do.
What's funny, man, when you like, say, for example, you go do an album, right, and you sell it for $10, or you sell it for $15, or you sell it for $25, or whatever you sell it for. The chances of you getting more for someone supporting you than them having to spend that money to buy that album. I've noticed to where it's like, someone buys the album for 10, but they probably give you 20 just to support you, because they're not just buying your music, but they're supporting you as well. Yep. So,
I agree with you 100%. In fact, I want this next one. I was looking for ways of putting it out so people could just listen to it for free. And
if you like it, support me up, man. This is what I do.
Yeah. So we were talking about this earlier about the businesses, these big record labels buying and music publishers buying catalogs. Neil Young comes out and he says, I want my music off Spotify. I'm not politically with this guy. I don't want to hear it. The guy made $150 million last January 2021 selling his catalog. Who cares what he's making on Spotify? I
Yeah.
mean, these are people that
They
not to get,
always act like it's for the artist, but
yeah, it's
no, it
not for
ain't.
the
It's for
artist. He
you.
didn't care. He doesn't care. He can talk about it all he wants to. And and the other part was some of these people don't even know who they are. You ask
Yeah.
somebody under 50, under 40 maybe, who Joni Mitchell is, they don't even know who she is. So she
Right.
says, I'm going to take my music off there. People go, I'm going to go listen to Joni Mitchell now.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be reverse psychology.
Yeah.
So I think music, I don't know where it's going to go, but it's going to have to move back. And
Well, what Neil and Joni Eppert realized that regardless of what you say, I could get any one of your albums right now for free. I can get your entire discography for free. I
yeah,
can go download it right
yep,
now with all your artwork, with all your music,
yep.
all those years you spent. And it'll take me a few minutes to download the entire thing. And then what? That's just, you made your money, man. You've done good in your life. Just get away.
I I just think that I don't know where it's going, and I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to be like my parents were with the world with my music. But why do people
Mm.
still listen to Jimi Hendrix? Why do people still want to hear Stevie Ray?
It's good music, man.
Stevie Ray died 32 years ago. Believe that.
Yeah.
32 freaking years ago. Why do people still listen to it? And it's not homogenized. And it's not to say too much about that. I think the movie industry is the same way. They can't put out a good movie anymore because they just keep wanting to, let's do another CGI movie with a bunch of fake Super 8 people that can do stuff
Mm.
and no plot. We'll just go out and shoot the evil guy. That's it. So
Yeah,
I'm
there's
hoping,
another. You see what is it, the 15th Batman now?
yeah, they'd have
Jeez,
geriatric
getting tired of
Batman.
that guy.
I mean,
Yeah,
well,
where's Hawkman? Or give me some,
Hawkman. Now there goes back. Hawkman.
yeah,
I
where's
mean,
he
I
at?
remember that guy.
That's Hawkeye. Hawkeye is what it
No, Hawkman. But I mean, also,
is.
they're trying to woke. I think the Superman, they try to make Superman woke, and people are going, we don't want politics in our cartoons. Could you just leave it
Yeah,
alone?
yeah.
And music's that way too. I think people just want to, they see, I see when the Beatles came out, and it was, I hate to use the word movement, really. And now I look at it and go, why were people screaming? It makes no sense at all. But that's what they did because I was watching last night for fun the Beatles performance of I Want to Hold Your Hand on Ed Sullivan. And they did it live, which was hard. Of course, later they lip sync stuff, not them, but a lot of people do. And people were screaming and yelling, and you could tell they came out to see Ed, and they're just kids. And people don't realize, and I'll just tell you this real quick, when they made Abbey Road, Paul McCartney was 28. They hit their
Mm.
peak when they're 20s. I mean, think about that. And now, 50 years later, they're still sitting around counting money from that. And if you look at that, and I thought it was funny when they brought out the Beatles movie, I thought, these people will go on forever. I mean, seriously,
Well,
it's
and I think
going
you kind of
on.
answered it too, as far as like with the catalogs and the labels buying up the catalogs.
Yeah.
That's another, because now they have the ability to, it's all marketing, and now you can sell those just like Nike did with Revolution, and Michael Jackson
Yep.
buying the Beatles catalog, and
Yep.
the Beatles would have never allowed them to use Revolution for a
Oh,
commercial,
no. No. No.
and so there's, it's
I
definitely
thought it was a few
a
years ago.
monetary.
Yeah, Peter Townsend sold his catalog for $100 million, and I thought, dang,
Jeez.
$100 million. But then
Yeah,
you see people selling it for 300 million. I mean, who would buy it? What does Neil
yeah.
Young has that's worth $150 million?
Or
I
yeah, and then
mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you're spending that kind of, they see something I don't see. I mean, I love the old music and so to speak, but so I don't know where it's going, but I hope that
NFTs. They're
NFTs
going to turn them into NFTs because you
and
can make
all right,
millions
so
on an NFT.
all right, now you got into this. Now you got to tell people what a non-fungible token is.
I really don't know either. I mean, I know it's part of the blockchain and all that
It's
crypto
like
stuff, but
Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it's a digital asset that's I don't know hardly a lot in it, but I do know that there's some of the larger companies that are getting involved. I know the NBA did
Yep.
some NFTs with some of their stuff, and I
I
mean
saw
it's
Tom Brady did something with, I think it was
yeah, he
NFTs or
did an
something like that.
NFT, yeah, which I don't know really. It's all digital stuff, and I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know if it's a phase right now or what, but a lot of these big companies are getting into that, man, and I can definitely see the music industry trying to take advantage of that. If there's somebody out there, for example, who is a huge Neil Young fan, and say what's that Modern Man or whatever that man song that he did, I can only think of one Neil Young song, the whatever man,
Oh yeah, it's
whatever that song is.
yeah.
But just think if you turn that into an NFT, and the guy who bought that NFT says, "Now I own this song.
Yeah,
It's my,"
yeah.
you know what I mean?
I
So
own,
yeah, I guarantee you they could make way more than $100 million off of turning his stuff into NFTs
well, and the other thing
or any
too,
major
and
artist like that.
and for those people who want to know anything, you look up non-fungible token. You're on your own
Yeah,
on that one. It's
I
kind of
mean
like
I couldn't
Bitcoin.
really. Yeah,
And when you do find out what it is and can explain it to us in detail, send us an email at
yeah.
info@ktandthetrout.com. So
But I also want to put this disclaimer out there: we do not give anybody financial advice. We're not telling you
no,
to go put money into NFTs or
no,
none of that
no,
stuff
no.
because we don't know.
We don't know.
So
We know nothing. We know nothing. So it this I just want to tell people we don't know where the music industry is going. It's kind of gone into the toilet.
I don't think the music industry knows where it's going.
They don't know where they're going, and and I don't know if people like shows like you know America's Got Talent or American Idol. People still go on there, and I've never yet. It's very rare that after watching these music shows or talent shows that the best performer doesn't win. It
Yeah.
always ends up being that way because they start out and you tell from the very beginning they get better, and then at the end you're going, I sure hope they win, and of course they do because people still look at talent. They don't need any
Well, no. And I mean, I
electronic
also
stuff.
think, I did what was it? I want to say it was tryout for The Voice or something like that.
Yeah, The
The
Voice
one
is
thing that
another
was
one. Yeah,
always funny to me is they have this show, right? And you have all these people trying out.
right.
But then they introduce someone who's about to go on an audition, and there's this huge backstory about this person, about where they came from and their lives and their fathers and all the stuff they're
Yeah.
going to. But I mean, how'd you have the time to do all that if that
Well, they knew
wasn't
ahead.
somebody that you weren't already pushing to, because everybody does audition tapes for these shows, right? You
Well,
got to
yeah,
send in
sure
your
they
deal.
do, and it's not
So they've
live. None of
already
it's
got
live.
yeah, they've already
Yeah.
got their backstories on these, and they probably already know who they think's going to win, and you know, the votes are in from the people out there. Well, how do I know
Well,
that?
apparently they do have a backup on that, but so if you watch, it is interesting. If you watch American Idol, and tens of thousands of people try out for it every year, they're probably in that segment right now doing it, and then all of a sudden, what I think about is how much film they have to take, because they see people
Yeah,
coming out and they go, "Is this guy any good?" And then they do the audition. I've known people that audition for it.
yeah,
And you go through your first audition, which is about four people sitting at a table, and they go, sing for us, and that's it.
yeah, yeah,
If you don't make it through that, if you make it through that, you go to the next group, and then
yeah.
but then obviously you're absolutely right, because how did they go to, I don't know, some little town in Kansas
Yeah.
where Billy Bob is doing, I'm just a wheat farmer here and I like to play
Yeah.
guitar.
Check it
And all
out.
of a
The most
sudden
amazing singer you've ever heard.
so it's like they know what's going on. And I always tell my wife the same thing when we watch these shows. It's all about entertainment. So they always throw in crap every
It
once
is.
in a while just so you can go, oh my God,
She
that guy's
bang, she
bad.
move. Yeah, baby. Yeah, she move in the bang.
I'm gonna have that song on my mind the rest of the day
Yeah.
now.
Oh, baby, she
Now
move.
available on Spotify. She Bangs
Yes.
by whatever the guy's name is.
Chang
And
Long Wing or something. Yeah. Chan's, I can't remember what it was, but yeah.
hey, let's remember Gingham Style too. That sold like, I
Oh,
mean,
up. Welcome, Gangnam Style. I mean, really? Come on.
what was the
Really?
other one? Wait a minute. that had the Spanish song in it.
Hey, Macarena. Hey. Chaka chaka maca chaka Macarena. Chaka Macarena.
That's pretty
Chaka
funny.
Macarena. Two old, like 90-year-old dudes. Like, what?
And they're sitting in their multi-million-dollar homes
Yeah.
now going, hey, what was that song?
Hey, made my money on some coca. Hey, Macarena. Jeez. We just need to do some really dumb.
Well, if you haven't heard, if you're listening to this and you haven't heard our song, which has got
not trying to offend
play
anybody.
on
Great songs.
YouTube called We Weren't Born This Way, which will be out pretty soon, April 1st. So you can download it. It's now available on YouTube on our channel. Actually, if you go to this channel, which you're on right now, and go up to the front and click on it, you can listen to it. Because this guy, wait a minute, I always go the wrong way. That way, that guy's singing on it. I just write it and he sings it because it makes it sound better. We weren't born this way. Thousands of people listen to it. Go out and download it now. It's free. Okay. So we'll let the music industry weed itself out as we begin doing our own thing, which we write. So let's talk about what's coming up on the next shows. Now, this is a part, if you're on a podcast, you're not going to be able to see, but you're still going to be able to enjoy it. We have found, and we've decided, KT and I are looking for unique products for musicians and some stories that are unique. And I found two, and we're going to talk about them briefly. And both of these people are going to come on our show in the near future. And this is the first one here. I'll hold it up here. It's called Cuda Winders. And you're like, what?
What? Cuda?
What's a Cuda? So this is
Not
what
to
it
be
looks
confused with, but it's Cuda.
This is what it looks like. Okay, here it is right here. Now you're saying, what is that thing? Okay. So I'll get it up closer so you can see it. And it's going to disappear a little bit. Okay. All right. When you are taught how to play guitar, they don't tell you how to change your strings because they will wear out or break or both, which is my case. So you have to learn how to put the strings on yourselves, which can be a tedious problem because you either wind too much on it or you wind not enough and the string breaks. Anyway, these guys have this patented item called Cuda Winder, which is great for guitar players because it actually measures from this end to every peg on your guitar, exact length that you need to trim it off and put it on your guitar. I'm not going to get into it. I'm going to let them do it when they come on the show.
There is some science in there.
There's some science, and it's patented. I can turn it this way. And it's made in the United States, actually made here in the state of Texas. And we're going to have them on CudaWinders.com. And they've sold so many of them, they're out of stock right now. I just talked to them this morning, and they're getting
Mr. Rick, could you spell Cuda for me, please, sir?
CUDA. Winders.
CUDA.com.
As in barracuda. See, it looks kind of like a barracuda. That's why it's that way.
That's it.
And on this end is a winder, so you don't spend your time going.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, three guys are going to be on the show. I don't know which one's going to come on the show to talk about Cuda Winder. We're really excited about this. As one of our new sponsors that we're going to have on here. We're excited because it's new, and we want to support them, Cuda Winders. And you go to their site right now, CudaWinders.com. The other one, here it is right here. It's in this little pouch. I'm going to hold this up. Harpley Slides. So I came across this. I'm a slide guitar player. Not as good as I wish I could be. This is a handmade, you can't hardly see it, I know. I'll put it right in front of my face, you can see it. Handmade slide by a gentleman out of the state of Maine that makes every one of these by hand. This is the best slide I've ever had in my life. It's called Harpley Slides. And Jared will come on in the near future to talk about this. And we really want to help support these two companies because they're both American made. And we're hoping that with our help, they become well-known items. And they're going to be sponsoring our show here pretty soon. Actually, we're going to let them come on and talk about it. We want to be able to do that. And the last thing.
Now, if there's any people out there that make cool things for singers.
Oh yeah. Well, we're going to be talking. We have to talk about
sitting there getting all this really cool stuff, and here I am.
Well, you're the singer. You have to go find it. I can't find.
I do. You're right.
You have to go find it because, I mean, typically, you know, we don't hear a lot about, I mean, people hear about guitars and stuff like that.
Yep.
There are some really cool guitar manufacturers across the world. I came across one that they're custom made out of Ireland. Yes, Ireland. I haven't talked to him yet, but I don't want to talk about him yet. But the other thing too, real quick, we had Bob Corritore on our show. Well, look at the way it disappears. That's cool. I think in November, Grammy Award winning harmonica player. He's got an album out called Spider in My Stew. I suggest you go out and listen to it. You can get it everywhere. Actually, it is available on CD, I believe. But I don't have a CD player anymore. So
where do you buy CDs at nowadays?
You can still buy them online.
Online.
I find it more
I think
prevalent.
Target still sells them. I'm not sure. I think they've taken them out of box stores.
Well, yeah. What I'm saying is, I don't mean it. Okay, not at retail stores, but I've seen more artists in Europe. It appears to have CDs than they do in America. Because I was following an artist that hopefully we're going to have on the show in the next 30 days. That when I went to his site, he was selling CDs, which I thought was interesting. Bob, all his music is on CD, so people still listen to it. And he's a blues guy, if you like the blues. So that's all I got to say. You know,
I love it.
What else can I say? So stay tuned for our next shows. If you're listening on podcast, thank you very much. We're everywhere again. It is nice if you just like this video. It is true, KT and I are just sitting around waiting for something big to happen to us. Is that true? I think
Give us some ideas. We'd love to hear from you.
That's right. And until the next show, which is coming soon, remember, KTandtheTrout.com. You can find everything at KTandtheTrout.com. And of course, we're on YouTube, Spotify. We mentioned Spotify. And we are on Spotify, on the podcast and everything else. So until next time.
I'm KT.
And I'm the Trout. And we are out.
Later.
KT and the Trout Show!